today we're going to be talking about, I would call it an important documentary in a lot of sense for all the people who love Indian cinema. And it's a 2012 documentary film directed by Shivendra Singh Dungarpur about the legendary Indian archivist P.K. Nair, who also founded the National Film Archive of India and is pretty respected in the field. So, Shantanu, you want to start off with your thoughts of the documentary?
Yeah, because the first thought I had when I was watching the film is film just reminded me of our time at studying film at SLA. So we both participated in this course called Film Appreciation. It was taught by Professor Gayatri Chatterjee. And even in the film itself, they talked about teaching film appreciation to a lot of people in the villages. And I bet the course we learned has some lineage connected to the same course, because Gayatri Chatterjee used to teach at FTII, where most of this film is based off of, and where the Indian Film Archive is. My first thought was that a lot of the films talked about in the film and the documentary, and a lot of the topics covered were very related to the stuff we learned. So it almost felt like a continuation of that course in one sense.
I have to agree with that, especially because it was not just the Indian cinema which was mentioned in that, even like Bicycle Thieves, like Buster Keaton and all of that. We had already like watched at least, if not the whole movies, like significant clips of these movies. What I really liked about this movie was like getting into some of the specifics, but because you mentioned film appreciation, in the movie, Nair himself was a huge advocate of film appreciation, and they covered that in the documentary when they showed him screening Rashomon in a very remote village in Karnataka, and like it showed a different view, as in like those people really enjoyed, like they knew the whole plot of Rashomon and they spoke about it. Like sometimes like cinema is conflated with like a sense of elitism and like having it's sort of gate kept, like is what people think, but the Indian cinema scene is very different, like in that sense, because like even Mother India like was screened like for so long. It was screened till like everybody watched it, and everybody watched it again, and everybody watched it for a third time. Also, Gayatri Chatterjee wrote a book, like she wrote the book about Mother India.
Yeah,
legendary film.
I mean, it's really weird to watch it given the times we live in, because it's so easy for us to access pretty much anything we want in terms of films on the internet. There was a time when you had to source these films, and getting them was like an insane amount of work, and you had to navigate through a network of these archivists that are present all over the world, and they traded their films with each other. They had backroom deals about trading these films.
Yeah, some of them like not in a derogatory way at all. Like it almost felt like a drug deal. Like you have the thing for this, yeah, but I hear you have this. Okay, let's just exchange these. Like you make a copy of this and I'll make a copy of this. He also admitted in the documentary that sometimes he's pirated movies back in the day, and like this is pre-globalization India, so like getting things from outside, a huge pain. And I mean, I'm obviously like a post-liberalization child, but like from what I hear, it was a real pain. Also, I feel like his piracy, like I don't want to use this trope, but like it was for the greater good. The documentary like has a lot of very famous people from Bollywood as well as the independent Indian cinema scene who have given their opinion on him. He's directly influenced so many people, you know, like Viddu Vinod Chopra, Syed Akhtar Mirza, Gulzar. In the actors, there's like Nasruddin Shah, Kamal Hassan. Like he was that influential. Like if you want to talk about like big business, of course, Yash Chopra, Ramesh Sippy, Mrinal Sen, like all of these. Not Mrinal Sen was on big business, but I mean like all the big names, you name it, he's had influence on them.
Yeah,
no matter what kind of cinema they're in. They might be in Tollywood, Bollywood, the indie scene. At least he feels larger than life in the documentary.
Yeah. And like it's not just like these other people. He probably had a direct impact on us as well.
Exactly.
It is because he archived these films, and then a bunch of filmmakers went through those courses and were able to watch those films, which influenced their films, which ultimately influenced our watching of cinema today, right? Like he has a direct and immense impact, both direct and indirect, on Indian culture as a whole, is what I'll say. And that culture affects us directly. And in a more sort of direct path, he was probably like the films he collected are the films we saw in our class because those are the ones he collected, right? Like there's a direct connection there.
Yeah, at this point, I'm gonna add a very funny tidbit. Shantanu doesn't like this movie, but the movie Kalia Ardan was literally archived and like saved by Nair. So the reason we literally watched it because was this guy thought, oh fuck, I should save this movie. So that's like some real direct shit right there. Except for that, he also, even like the very famous movie Raja Harish Chandra, he was the one who saved that one as well. Like it feels so funny saying like he saved it and he archived this because today you just go on uTorrent or like any of your streaming platforms and you have this movie. But like this is back then. Like the reason you're watching these movies, some sort of print is available is because this man bothered to archive it.
Yeah. And actually put a lot of work into archiving it. Not just like, it wasn't just him just passively collecting it. It was him very actively looking for these films, going to different remote villages and meeting these people who probably had like one part of one strip of the entire thing and just like very tediously putting the entire thing together. I haven't been to the archive ever.
I went to the archive when I have watched a lot of Satyajit Roy at the archive. They do festivals at the archive. So Soham, me, my brother and Shayanta, we all went to the archive and they just screen it, bro. You can just chill at the archive and they have the original thing and they run it and good fun.
The guy had like an immense impact on Indian culture. And the funny thing is, at some point, the guy is trying to argue that, oh, studying film is actually cultural studies. And
Yeah.
my entire thought is, dude, film is like the centerpiece of cultural studies. You know, if you want to understand the culture of a country, you watch its films. Yeah. And I guess 50, 60 years ago, this was not that widely accepted. Maybe cultural, like films weren't like part of elite culture as they are now. That's quite interesting. Yeah. Like film has always been mass media, right? So it's quite interesting that, oh, you have to argue that, oh, film is cultural studies when it's the centerpiece. Like if you had to understand culture, you look at film. Like where else will you look?
Today, like if you see the decade you watch a movie from, like everything is there. Like the kind of clothes people wear, the way people talk, just everything. Like it's like some anthropology also right there and then, like even like how people are depicted, stuff like that. Like especially in India, like this whole change has just by like, if you want to talk about like how LGBTQ relations were viewed in India, like in 2008 there's a movie called Dostana and had a like it was like almost mocking like gay people, but like post 2012 there's been some great movies like Margarita with a Straw. There's been a bunch of like LGBTQ friendly movies and stuff. I just feel like it's a sign of the times you live in. Each movie, like it gives you some great insight like that.
It's quite interesting. I mean, the film itself, it took its time. It was slow, which you will appreciate if you're interested in something like this. For us, it's a little bit difficult to watch because obviously we are significantly more familiar with faster stuff. It's shot in more of a very traditional manner. He shoots the thing. It's more about the topic of the film than it is about the rhetoric of the film. Because like he wants to give Nair like the center stage, right? Like he doesn't want to be like, oh, look at this fancy cinematography. But like there was this one shot which was very interesting where scene in the film where they like a bunch of the film has cut up montages of old films and like iconic scenes from really old cinema. And there's this one scene where there's this woman who shouts "Mujhe bachao" from some old film that I don't know about. And then it's just cut up against a bunch of old film reels that are lying outside and probably just degrading. And it's like iconic because like a lot of the cinema of that time just got completely destroyed. Like, it was his work that saved a bunch of it, but despite that, so much of it was just lost. Even Kalia Mardan, we don't have a proper print of it.
Exactly. It's a hack. I don't want to say it's a hack job, but like it's a little haphazard. Yeah, like, but some of his stuff is like been kept tip top.
Yeah.
Some of the stuff. There's this one movie called Hirok Raja. I don't know if you watched it. I watched it when they were screening Satyajit Ray's movies at the Film Archive, and they've kept that one really well. It's really good. That one's really good.
I've only seen 4 films by him.
Oh, I only watched 3.
Appu Trilogy and Shatranj Ki Khiladi.
Shatranj Ki Khiladi, I started watching that, but I haven't completed it. But like one day soon, I will. I feel like in the biography part, they did a lot of justice to PK Nair because like I feel like his arc was covered really well, you know, like they even talk about how he becomes fascinated with films
Yeah.
And he talks about like he was in this, theater in a cinema theater in Trivandrum, and it was near the beach, and there was just like white sand everywhere. And he was like collecting these ticket stubs, lobby cards. He was like collecting shit about movies like back then. And even though he graduated with a science degree, like he mentioned the movie, he called up the guy who directed Mother India, Mehboob Khan. He called up Mehboob Khan. He's like, oh, I want to do some work in this. And they're like, okay, come, you can come and like be on the set. And his passion is captured, and like all throughout the movie, even like the really cool thing about him is that he collects every movie. It doesn't matter if it's like a foreign film in French or Polish, and or if it's an Indian film, because like one of the craziest things he mentions is that like during the silent film era, some 1700 films were made and only 9 survive, and it's all thanks to just Nair, because he bothered going to remote parts of India and like just getting these scans. He'll get to what happened when he was not there anymore.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of insane how much work he put into the entire thing. And they covered the whole arc, right, of his thing.
Yeah.
Like, where the first part of the film was more about the work he did, and then the second part of the film was more about the guy himself and like his own journey, plus what impact it had on both his family and like the people around him, how other people perceived him. Generally, like a lot of people used to think of him as a little bit rude, like his colleagues didn't particularly like him because he was so passionate about it, and I'm sure a lot of people thought it was just a job, like this was his mission, and his perception by his students of him being like a strict but kind teacher, where like he would be very strict about certain things, but like if you wanted to watch films, he would always allow it. Like he let a lot of people watch films outside of the times they were allowed, like outside of class times and outside of like opening times and stuff like that. And then finally we get to the part where he leaves and retires. Afterwards, he's not even allowed to enter the film archive because the administration after him kind of just bans him.
Yeah.
So that's the amount of hate he must have generated within his organization around him, right? I don't know why, because we don't know the other side of the story really. But
to be fair, like right after they mentioned the part about how he was not welcome at the film archive anymore, the next cut is like of Shyam Benegal speaking, and he just says that what happened was like once he left the film archive, like this is the other side of the story, of course. Once he left the archive, people just stopped archiving things properly.
yeah,
Like when he would come and he would see like cans lying around or like film is just exposed to light, so he would kind of lose it, and they didn't like that because obviously new administration, new rules, old people are just seen as like a problem. So yeah, that was pretty sad. Also, a very complex part of it was like his support system was also covered, like his children and his wife.
yeah,
Like now his children are like pretty cool with it and everything, but even then, like his wife was totally cool with him going and watching movies from like 11 in the night to like 4 in the morning. And yeah, they just knew that this is what he loved doing, so they just let him do it. So like in a lot of sense, he was not like your usual father or husband. He was like so dedicated to his craft that like he was just into it. And like he also like gained a reputation for being like, if you wanted to watch a movie, like you just contact him, like you have this film, and be like, yeah, I'll arrange a screening for you. Even the thing with the relationship with the students was very good, because like at the beginning of this podcast, like I mentioned, who are these people he's influenced, blah blah blah. But yeah, it seems like he just rubbed some people the wrong way.
exactly. I mean, and there's this other aspect to it where India just straight up does not have a culture of archiving, right? Like archiving as an activity is not given importance by anybody. So this man is like basically a very odd entity between a bunch of people who really think this is just a waste of time. And here he is trying to archive bits and pieces in like a super methodical way. And he's following basically international standards of doing this thing.
Yeah.
Whereas in India, a lot of our culture is based on an oral tradition where things are forgotten. Specifically, there was this line, I don't remember who said it, but like there was this line in the film where someone said, we have a rich past, but not a substantial history.
Yeah.
The reason for it is because we don't archive, right? We don't give importance to writing down history. We don't give importance to noting the events that are happening. So a lot of Indian past is just forgotten, right? Like whatever we know about the past is through archaeology. It's not because of a written tradition of history of any sorts. So the act of archiving in itself is not, let's say, an Indian act. It's definitely more of a Western thing. That in itself becomes like an oddity. You can understand why, like, he gave so much of a shit about what he was doing, but nobody else did.
It does seem like he, at least at the Film and Television Institute of India, it seemed like he was there, and like in the movie it's mentioned he had an assistant who helped him greatly. But the cool thing about him was he was always just looking for people from anywhere who just wanted to archive as well. And that's how he was like even growing this collection of his movies and stuff. I think, yeah, that's what, like, I think he also must have like stuck out, you know, like he was deviating from the norm a lot, you know?
Yeah.
He was like trying to save stuff, like especially like, I don't know, this is sort of a very, I'm generalizing too much here, but like in India, like once things get old and stuff, people tend not to care too much about them. I don't know if it's changed now. I mean, I hope it has, but like I just noticed this, like these silent films, right, like which he saved. I feel like if it was any other country, they would have like fuck, this is an era. And today only 9 are surviving because this one man tried. But like if there was like a systematic push towards archiving these, I'm sure all.
Yeah, but there's also this idea, right, like that a lot of people think you should only save what is important, like you should only archive important stuff, but like they talk about in the film where it might not be important right now, but it might be important historically speaking, or people 20 years down the line must think this is important. That's also there. Like, for example, like, would you sit and save all the reels you see on Instagram, right? Like, you would think, oh, this is nonsense. You should save like important films, like Oppenheimer or something, you know?
Yeah.
What is an Instagram reel? You know, who cares about that? Why would anybody give a shit about that? But like 20 years down the line, maybe that's like the important thing. Maybe it's the era where film died and the internet video took over. Like, it's important historically. So to sit and be like, oh, I'm going to go to a village to save an Instagram reel. It's important, but it's also not important. Like, most people don't think this is important, but you think it's important. And you think it's important mostly because of a sense of it's more coming from thinking than it from reality, right? You're thinking maybe this will be useful later. And so let's save it. So that's also interesting.
And I'm just trying to even think if somebody is out there right now just like downloading the videos from Instagram and like, this is a funny reel. This is a funny reel. I mean, I hope nobody's doing that. But
yeah, but also you would have to save the not funny ones, right? Like, that's the idea.
Yeah.
To save everything. I mean, I guess Internet Archive must save stuff. I don't know.
Yeah, they do.
Anybody saving the entirety of Instagram. But I guess my other point is the amount of stuff he's probably seen is insane.
Yeah.
It's like
kind of crazy. He didn't have glasses, man.
Yeah. And because he's watching the film from a distance, it's not myopic because you're watching like a screen in front of you that's really close to you all the time.
Yeah.
There was a part of the film where he was wearing black glasses and I thought he was blind, and I was like, what?
I know. Oh, maybe those were his glasses, but you know, back in those days, you would get those glasses, you should turn black in the sunlight.
I don't know, dude. I thought he went blind at some point. I was like, this is tragic story.
I know what you're talking about. So, you know, those were in those ones. But yeah, that would have been like those.
But imagine sitting I think this line was mentioned in the film as well, but like I also thought about it where like I thought, oh, sitting there watching films all day, it doesn't sound that bad. Like, that's a fun job. And then you realize, holy shit, no, he's just sitting there watching films all day. The whole day.
It's not just that. Like, you're just there. Dude.
You don't get to choose what you're watching.
Exactly. Sometimes he's watching up to 4 movies a day, bro. That's insane. And
you don't process any of the films as much as you would like to.
I mean, it looked like he had.
It's a very different experience to just like go film after film or like watch a film and then like let your brain process it.
Dude, it's been so long since I actually did like 2 movies in a day. But like when I was much younger, there have been days I watched 3 movies in a day.
Yeah, I used to watch I can do like 2 to 3. That's about it. Like 3 is upper limit. I would mostly never watch more than 2 films in a day. I can watch like 20 episodes of a TV show, but like that's different because at least it's connected to one another.
Yeah. Man, I haven't binged anything also in so long.
I mean, he invented binge watching.
Yeah, he invented binge watching. He was literally binging stuff off a projector, so he was doing it the OG way instead of us in front of a laptop or a TV, like a TV just like going through episode. Man was straight up just, it was his job. So
Yeah.
I don't think any of us are going to get that as a job. Like, I wonder if FTI is even how it is these days. Because, like, the sad thing in India is, like, institutions like these, like, it heavily depends on who is in power.
Yeah, it's altogether dependent on who's in power. The institutional bureaucracy doesn't have a continuity thing.
Yeah.
It's just whoever's in power. If the person is good, then it's good. If it's bad, it's just bad.
And as of late, I mean, I still don't know what's happening there, like what the scene is. But I hope there's someone like Nair there and killing it. Maybe we should like try to reach out to them and see if they have somebody who can add like a more nuanced take to his life and his contribution to the film archive of India.
Yeah. I mean, he created a scene, right? Like he created that scene of film enthusiasts who went on to make films, and that like he cultivated a scene by just archiving. Like, he was part of a scene and also like made sure that scene continued, which is quite interesting because I don't know if there's a scene like that anymore.
What I feel really skeptical about is the people he was influencing, right? Like, do the best go to these institutes anymore? Like, it really looked like all the best people were there of indie and commercial cinema, right?
I mean, but like this is also, they become the best after, like they weren't the best, right? They were just students, and then after graduating they become the best. And we don't know, maybe they do, like the best generation of Indian filmmakers ever is in FTI right now, but we will know that 20 years down the line, not right now. Maybe they are somewhere else. Maybe they come out of fucking SSLA, who knows.
Yeah, there is a up and coming filmmaker from SSLA, but like we'll not name him. It'll be a future reveal in one of the other episodes. I mean, you don't know, right? Like, you don't know.
Yeah,
like, today with everything, like today with your phone just becoming a fucking weapon, you can make some shit. Like, people have made full on. I think it was the Blair Witch Project was shot completely on iPhone, no? Yeah, it was that one.
I'm not sure.
Yeah, it was that one.
There's this other thing which was interesting about this film, which is when he talked about going to a cinema when he was young, and there was like a theater which had sand on the floor, and you had floor seats, and you had like benches. My entire thought during that entire time was like, we have a very convergent version of a theater today, and there must be so many different types of theaters back then. Because today, what we get is a PVR, and that's like the best you're gonna get. Even, dude, like when I was in London, right? In London as well, you had these major cinemas, which was like Odeon and the other one I don't remember, but like there was Odeon and major cinema companies and View and stuff like that. But then you had a lot of these independent theaters like Prince Charles Cinema and like a bunch of independent cinemas that had like very specific types of films screened there in those theaters, and they had very specific kinds of audiences, and they cultivated a scene. And these big commercial companies can't really cultivate a scene around their cinema halls because nobody's a regular. They're all like commodities in a sense. You go to any PVR, you don't care which PVR you're going to really, as long as maybe you care about the tech and IMAX or not. But apart from that, it's more about like what you get rather than the people who are going there. London still has like a few cinema halls where a lot of interesting people go. And it's like a cult situation, right? Like a cult scene. And this was more popular in the 70s than it is now, obviously. Like I saw this film during British Film Institute, BFI London Film Festival. I don't remember the name at all. It was about this theater hall, which was open only from 12 at night to 5 a.m. in the morning, and that's when a lot of people who got drunk and were done partying would go and stay at the theater and just watch the most ridiculous cult films that you can think of. Like these are stuff that you would never see outside in a commercial theater. Like it cultivated an entire audience of people, and there was this documentary about this exact theater, and a bunch of those people who used to go to that cinema came to watch that documentary during the film festival. It was like a lot of popular filmmakers as well as a lot of like other people, but they cultivated like an entire scene, and that kind of thing kind of doesn't happen anymore. Or maybe it happens and we are not exposed to it, but kind of felt a little bit jealous about that. We don't really have access to scenes like that as much.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure once in a while that, like, if we look out for screenings, I'm sure there's some screenings happening somewhere. India is a very large country. But I guess we gotta look more.
No, but the thing is, it's all dead. That's what I'm saying. It used to like there's a cinema in the called drive-in theater, which is just like
Okay.
it's a big projector screen in like a hall, like a ground, and you can just drive in and just watch movies from your car. But like nobody goes there anymore. It's dying. It used to be popular maybe 20, 30 years ago. Now people just go to a cinema. Like if I ask my friend to watch a film and I want to go there, no way anybody would agree. So, and similarly with like a lot of these old Bombay theaters, right?
Yeah.
Where, we used to screen fucking PLJ for 20, 30 years. Stuff like that. Like those places they're not like prominent anymore. They seem like a thing of the past.
I mean, sure as fuck, a lot of people aren't going to them. There was also one really cool thing about Nair I found was, at some point in this podcast, I must have mentioned how he went to work for Mehboob Khan and stuff. He also went and worked for like a bunch of other big time filmmakers. But there's something I found really interesting. He just felt like he didn't have the qualities to become a filmmaker. He just liked to study films more. And I think that's how he stumbled upon like FTI and stuff. He was self-aware in that sort of thing, because like just keep shifting from one place to another. There's also this really great scene in the movie of him with a bunch of other people in an Irani cafe just discussing films.
Yeah.
And like they all look like they're just so into it. Like, oh, you remember this scene from this part? And like they're just discussing. I think they were discussing something of Polish. Was it Krzysztof Zanussi, or one of his works? And they were just discussing that. Another way where I feel like he also, along with archiving the movie, he introduced a lot of directors. Like he made them a part of the syllabus at FTII. Like Kurosawa and Bergman and all these people. Like he was like very instrumental in that as well. Along with like, I think this must be like one of his biggest contributors. Like he also made like Satyajit Ray, Ritik Ghatak, Mrinal Sen, Guru Dutt. Like he really like pushed these people on towards the syllabus there. So when Shantanu mentioned like we have a direct impact on him, like definitely, because like we watched all their work.
I mean, there's a lineage of these courses, and I think we ended up taking one of like a course from that lineage that he probably was a pioneer of. Because like every film they mentioned in the documentary I've heard of or had seen.
Yeah.
It's pretty rare that happens.